So my presentation is, the future of NFTs for musicians, artists, and creators. There's a couple things that I think are very interesting topics. We'll just go the about me. Like she said, 21 years in the music industry. I have a gold record. I've been on 2 Marvel movies, and I've also been featured on the Madden video games. As far as my contribution in film, I was an Emmy contributor, and I did a bunch of Nike content. Like she said, the 30th anniversary, just do a commercial. Oops. And I also led creative marketing director at Harmony. So a bunch of marketing stuff. So now I am the CEO of Gen, and what we are is rapid social login platform. And I'll get into that at the end. So these are the kind of topics that I thought would be interesting to bring up for today. One of them was enforcement of royalty payments, which for people like me in the music industry is a very important topic to wrap my head around, as well as NFTs for gaming and the accessibility of NFT marketplaces. What I mean by accessibility is I just think that a lot of what is out there right now is kind of like a club for people that know blockchain and not really there for the masses to consume. And I'll get more into that at the end. So NFT royalties. I had always thought in my head that the NFT royalties were kind of baked into the smart contract, and that I would be guaranteed my royalties till the end of time. That was the promise that Web3 had. And this, in regards to secondary sales. But after further investigation, I basically, having talks with my CTO when we're building our app, I came to realize that you actually cannot enforce these royalties on the code level. And the reason why is because something as simple as, an over-the-counter sale, or they just transfer it and then they, get money in exchange and not pay the royalty. There could also be something as simple as just wrapping the contract with another smart contract, effectively selling the NFT for, close to $0. My royalty is like a fraction of a penny. And then, the platform gets to do that transfer and not pay me a royalty. So, this has been done by Magic Eden, X2Y2, and it made me realize that some degree of centralization may be necessary to ensure the enforceability of royalties in practice. What that looks like, I'm not 100%, sure. We're all still building these services, but it made me realize that there might have to be, some way to enforce these that are not decentralized, which is unfortunate. And the main reason I think this is coming to be is speculators. So if I'm a trader, I, want maximum profit. And I think there's a difference between traders and fans. Fans want the value that is given with the NFTs, whereas the speculators, they want maximum profit. And I think everyone at the end of the day wants maximum profit. Who out there would take, $5 when you can get $10 as an example. But the reality of it is that this hurts a lot of the artists if they choose to make a living off of royalties. And I bring up that important point that it's really about choice. And I think the platforms in the future are going to have to be mindful of that choice. So let's talk about current streaming revenue in like the Web2 world. So we use pro rata distribution, which basically means that, out of all these streams, this is your percentage of the streams, and you get this much money for it. Now the revenue on streaming is, different depending on where you are in the world. So the United States is going to pay a lot different then perhaps something in Europe, or perhaps something in Africa, South America. So depending where you are in the world, this revenue pool will shrink or expand, and the percentage of the revenue really depends on the region. And then they take the total number of streams on the platform and the number of streams that you have, and they kind of divvy out that as well. Pretty damn sure too that a lot of the artists might have a a guarantee, especially if they're on a label. So they might have a guaranteed minimum payout, which may not translate to independent artists. Another revenue stream is performance rights organizations. They call them pros. And this is something where every 3 to 6 months I get a nice little check in the mail for basically my song getting played on the radio, TV commercials, that type of thing. And these are basically organized through ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC. Those are the three main ones in the United States. For people that don't know, like if you go to a bar, as an example, and you hear music, there's actually a blanket license that is paid by the bar to these performance rights organizations. And it basically covers, any song that is played from those libraries. And we get as artists, we get a chunk of that. Now, a lot of this stuff is done by hand. A lot of this stuff is really ripe and ready for a blockchain solution. But, the music industry is always last, so they drag their feet on streaming. They want to just keep with CD sales and, all that stuff. And I think the same thing is happening with, performing rights organizations as well. But yeah, if your song is played in a public performance, the artist can get money. And also cover songs, if somebody covers my song, I can get paid for that as well. And if somebody samples my song, I can get paid for that. Now, this is something that I was kind of like, thinking about, is that a lot, I go to a lot of these blockchain conferences, and especially in LA, and or I live in Hollywood. And, a lot of these people that get on stage, they talk about the fact that artists are going to be taken care of when it comes to these royalties. And come to find out that that's not the case, whether it be over-the-counter sales, whether it be wrapping the smart contract, realizing that it's platform dependent. So, for example, OpenSea, they honor royalties, whereas others do not. And I believe OpenSea only honors it for the collection. So anyway, I really think that the artist is giving their music away for a set amount of money, thinking that they're going to get royalties in the end, and then getting the rug pulled out from underneath them. And I don't think that that's fair. And I think that there needs to be a solution for that. So this brings me to the point I've made already, that open platforms cannot protect the creator currently. You can take the NFT to competing platform and speculatively trade without a royalty. This is really not ideal for many artists. And I think a lot of platforms will discover that if they want to keep artists, they're going to have to find ways to maintain the royalty mechanism. Some artists will not care, but most artists, I believe, will. And I already talked about this. X2Y2 Looks Rare, Magic Eden. They all altered their royalty structures after the fact. They're no longer obligated buyers to pay royalties, which is, to me, that's insane. And it really showed where their loyalties lie. Their loyalties are basically to volume of trades and getting speculators to be trading in and out of these assets or commodities. So OpenSea has, definitely had a lot of people banging on their door on Twitter saying you should enforce it. And being the largest, they had ended up enforcing it. But this doesn't come without a take in market share. So OpenSea actually lost a lot of market share to these other platforms because they were, if I'm a trader, I want the maximum amount of money for the end of my trade. So, create some problems. So the arguments for eliminating royalties, I think most of them are speculative. Now, this is something that is kind of at the core of the ethos of blockchain, and I understand why many people will think this way, is that the ownership should 100% transfer with the original purchase of the NFT, and that royalties should just be done away with. And there's something I respect about that. We build these decentralized. I think everyone can agree that decentralization is what we need, but especially in financial markets. But I question if these are artist friendly. And now, the creators, their argument is, if you think that this song is going to be a massive hit, you should charge whatever you think this song is worth at the initial sale. So if I think that this song is worth $1 million, I should charge $1 million, something like that. But most independent artists don't actually know what their hit is going to be until it actually releases out into the world. So as the point when I was, doing music as a career, there were songs that we released that I was like, I don't like this song. This is the worst song on the album. And the label would do their metrics where they would, poll people, poll radio stations, stuff like that. And they would get the metrics back and they would say, hey, wait a second. That song that you hate, that's actually the next single because everyone loves that song. And so the artist is, notoriously bad at picking their single. And we hear it all the time that most people didn't think that the song that was their hit was going to be the hit. Some of those songs were written in like 10 minutes and they didn't think much of it. And at the time, it was just another song on the album and then boom, it becomes a hit. So how are you as an artist supposed to price the value of something if you don't know the inherent value because you haven't released it into the world? So here's a picture. This is Harvey Ball, and he was paid $45 to make the smiley face. The Smiley Company went on to sell $500 million in merch, which Harvey earned none. And he laughs about it. He's not really that concerned about the money. Perhaps this is an example of, blockchain happening in real life where the artist, the value of what they did at the time was $45 and that's all they get. And, as an artist, I think we take those jobs from time to time and we devalue what we do because we might not have the ability to make it a hit, as opposed to perhaps the Smiley Company, who might have somebody involved in marketing, who might have somebody who's shrewd at business, who's able to turn a $45 sketch into a $500 million into $500 million in sales. So the argument for keeping royalties, I would assume, is the value or significance of art grows or shrinks over time. If I die as an artist, perhaps the songs that I make or the art that I create is worth more. That's an event that nobody plans for, but it's entirely possible. I think everyone's pretty familiar with the band Sublime. The singer never got his roses. He died poor, but yet that album went on to be a massive hit, And, you know, it goes to show that you never really know. So another argument for keeping royalties is that artists can make a living from their art, and also royalties promote creativity. So if I don't think that I'm getting anything for my art, then I'm going to be less motivated to make art, or less motivated to list it on your platform. Maybe I still make art, but I opt to go the centralized route as opposed to the decentralized route. Maybe I just stay on Spotify and not even do music NFTs. You know, those are all interesting points for keeping royalties. So I think that artists must make a choice, open or closed platforms. And I think that there's potential to have a mixture of both. I think that both have their advantages and disadvantages, but I think what's most important is just giving the artist the choice, and making the options very clear to them right from the start. Now, platforms need to make a choice as well. Are they going to support creator royalties, or are they going to support true ownership? Now, this is a very interesting point, because it's almost like this is a race to the bottom. Because if I'm a platform and most of my customers are speculative traders, I'm going to go out of business if I don't eliminate royalties. You know, people are going to go to other platforms. So there's a business case for eliminating royalties altogether. Whether or not the artists follow, that's a whole nother thing. But you know, so will somebody crack the code and allow for truly open platforms that can enforce royalties across the entire blockchain? I've seen that there has been talk about doing almost like whitelists, where these NFTs can only be listed on, you know, sites that offer a royalty split, and having that baked into the code. But after talking to my CTO, he basically just said, you know, that's just a Band-Aid, because at the end of the day, if it's code, it's going to be very hard to enforce that, especially, and he boiled it down. It boils down to the transfer function of the NFT, because theoretically, at its core, I could just transfer you the NFT for free, with no sale whatsoever, and then we can do, you know, an escrow of money, totally defeating the purpose of the royalties. All right, let's pivot now into some gaming, and I'll wrap all this up together at the end. So gaming is huge, but how huge? It is worth more than the film and music industries combined. I think a lot of people might know this, might not know that. Now, I know that Ideas is, you know, started as an AI conference. Compared to gaming, let's take a look at some numbers. ChatGPT, Microsoft invested $10 billion, and also Activision, which makes Call of Duty, they bought it for $68.7 billion. So gaming is massive, and my personal take is that AI will eventually be worth exponentially more, and I think it's, over the long term, a better investment. But it just goes to show you the state of the market now in regards to gaming, just how massive the market is. Now, gaming, in regards to NFTs, there's been some hurdles. There's a platform called Steam, which, if you're a gamer, this is like, you know, a staple in the community. They've banned all games that incorporate NFTs, citing volatility and bad actors. Rockstar Games have banned the buying and selling of NFTs. They're the ones who make the Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, stuff like that. Minecraft, which is the best-selling game of all time, 238 million copies, compared to GTA, Grand Theft Auto 5 at 175 million copies. They have banned NFT support inside the Minecraft server and client applications. Now, after investigating most of these incidences, the main reason that they're banning them is because they're not getting a cut. of these NFTs. So I think that they will eventually turn around, but it's going to be something that is, more geared towards making them money as opposed to other people. So I think this could be boiled down also to, sorry. I think this can be boiled down to the fact that they can't necessarily control the user experience. So that might be something as well. And, when you really boil it down, what do these companies own? Just like the music industry, just like the film industry, they own the intellectual property. And this is something that I think that a lot of people in blockchain forget about, is that intellectual property is the most valuable thing. So if I'm a company that's selling Minecraft, and I'm decentralizing it and giving away that intellectual property, perhaps my bottom line is not as big. So these are challenges in the blockchain space of how we can integrate. So all right. So in November, despite the FTX collapse, blockchain gaming activity had an average of 800,000 daily active users. And Wax is the most dominant gaming protocol, which is an interesting stat. I would have thought it was a different company, but it is actually Wax. So just more stats. Gods Unchained is number one. Polygon actually saw their unique active wallets decline while Wax gained, which was an interesting stat as well, because Polygon has been really going in on partnerships, massive partnerships, big partnerships, but they saw their active wallets decline. So, why am I talking about games? Sure, I'm a decent gamer. I do stints where I play games, for a long period of time, and then I'll just put it down and walk away from it. But the main reason is because music NFTs, licensing in games is an interesting proposition. Now games, a lot of people think that, oh, maybe if they have a license that they get paid for every stream. That's actually not the case. Most games are just like they pay for the right to use it, but in-game plays are not considered public performance, in which case they're not actually getting a royalty. So it's can you make money doing music NFTs for gaming? Possibly. To give it a frame of reference, I believe that when my band did the Madden series, EA Sports Madden, I want to say we got either $2,000 or $5,000 for the right to have our music on that video game. So it really wasn't that much, it wasn't that much money. And that's pretty much all across the board. Obviously, if you're a huge artist, you're going to have a lot more, you're going to have a lot more leverage when it comes to demanding a higher amount of revenue for licensing your song. So, this, we talk about video games, we talk about music NFTs, but I want you to look at this picture. Like, this is really what we're trying to go after. We go to these blockchain conferences and we always talk about users, and we're building these scaling solutions for the masses. And yet what we end up seeing is just, people that are already crypto native joining. And I think a lot of this has to do with, education in the space. Obviously, more people are getting educated on blockchain, so more people are getting into it. But how do I turn just a couple people getting educated into the pure masses? And I think this is going to have to be, there's going to have to be an abstraction moment in blockchain where users are effectively, where we're taking away things to make it easier for the consumer. So this is what our company is trying to solve. The Gen platform, what we've created is about a 20-second SMS wallet onboarding. So what we have is it's proprietary. It's a rapid login experience for Web3, and setting up a MetaMask can take 5 minutes, and they're getting started with MetaMask YouTube video is an hour long. And so who is going to, and really at a mass scale, who's really going to spend an hour trying to learn all the intricacies of MetaMask just to getting started, like RPCs and choosing different networks and how to reveal your tokens. Half the time we're like, where's my token? And we have to add it. This is extremely confusing for users. So I think the abstraction of features is what's going to allow blockchain to be able to thrive. And I think that, in developing this product, our goal was, could I onboard somebody who's drunk at a festival? If the artist on stage puts the QR code on the screen and I'm just cheering, could I sit there and onboard somebody into a wallet? And I think that is really what we are focused on, is rapid login. MetaMask is a great wallet. I love my MetaMask, but I'm also blockchain native. I think that it's overkill for most people. I think our login solution is more like the Fisher Price of wallets. It's pretty basic, and it's that way on purpose. It's supposed to. We've developed it in a way that we wanted less features for users going out because we didn't want to confuse them. So yeah, this is an example of some fan who, he's at the concert. Could I onboard him? And our platform, it takes about 20 seconds to onboard. So show wallet. I think everyone could actually just try it. You could just try it yourself. Go to gen.com, dj3n.com. You can actually create a profile and all that. If you just want to experience the wallet, you can go to gen.io, dj3n.io. That's just the wallet. And so while there are many challenges facing creators, the innovation taking place right now and the choices offered to artists in order to generate revenue from their creations has never been better. I think the main thing is just to make sure that we have choice. And that's it.